What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Sports Now. Since most of our drafts are over, I wanted to go into something a little more fun, a little more different. Has to do with MLB worst contracts in 2021. Some of these you guys have probably heard of, some of them you haven't. There was really a good list of 15 or 20 of them, but I narrowed it down to 10. If you like what you see today, let me know. Hit me with the sub. We're going to start getting into football soon, and I'm having a lot of fun with this, so I love you guys, and let's just get right on to it, okay? I like to give you guys content as fast as I can. None of this ads, none of this hour for all this stuff. I like just getting in 10-minute videos. Let's do it. Okay. Madison Bumgarner comes in at number 10. He's got 4 years at $16 million left. He's already 35 years old, and Arizona went out and got him. And at the time, it seemed like it was not a terrible signing, but he keeps getting hurt and he can't stay on the field. He's got this like rodeo thing that he keeps doing, and he keeps getting hurt. He said he had an ATV accident, but we all think he was because he was riding horses. Kind of a strange accident and a weird thing, but I wouldn't really want to be tied to him at 4 years at 16 mil personally if it was my team. It's not the worst contract. Obviously, there's 9 worse ones, and we'll see those in a second. There's at least some skin on the bone here because he is still playing and is still effective and technically still part of the top 3 in Arizona's lineup, starting pitching. So it's not the worst in the world. It's not that high a value money-wise, but the amount of years you're going to be spending for him is unfortunate for Arizona for what they've gotten back so far from him. Second is Matt Carpenter, also 35 years old. 2 years at 18.5 mil. A couple of years ago, this looked like a great deal because he almost had an MVP season. I think it was 2017, I want to say, which was a few years back by now. But essentially, Carpenter at this point is a bench player at best, and I know he's going to move around a lot, and I know that they've had some injuries already, so it sounds like Carpenter might start, but as soon as the injuries are kind of subsided, he's going right back to the bench. And for me, 2 years, basically at $19 million, you really don't want that sitting on your bench for somebody who's not going to give you a whole lot of production. So when I talk about skin on the bone, there's not a whole lot here for Matt Carpenter in St. Louis, and it's just kind of dead. I don't want to say it's dead cap completely, but you don't spend this much on your bench hitters. So unfortunately for St. Louis, that's number 9. Number 8, also 35-year-old Josh Donaldson. Good skin on the bone again, kind of another injury risk. It's kind of the combination of the first 2 guys. Injuries all the time, which has been horrible for Josh Donaldson lately. And he's got 3 years at 21 mil. And he's also got a club option, which I'm assuming they will reject. But who knows? Maybe he has a huge year when he's 39 or whatever. But Josh Donaldson hasn't really lived up to his contract yet, and I know that he's obviously hoping to do so. He got paid, and this is what players look for, is these bigger contracts that kind of age them out when they can retire on this kind of deal. So good for him for getting it, but for me right now, you're not getting enough production out of Josh Donaldson to justify anywhere near this contract, and he doesn't stay on the field enough for me to ever justify this contract. So for me, he's sitting here at number 8, unfortunately. Next is actually Albert Pujols. This is one of the more common ones that people know about, is that really long, terrible kind of contract that, you paid him for what he did as opposed to what he's going to do kind of a contract. And it's actually at its end here. After this season, it's got one last year, which is this year, $30 million. He'll be a free agent after this year, so he actually comes off of the books. When I was starting this list, I was anticipating having Pujols easily in the top 3, but then I saw it was only for 1 more year, and I think that you can muster up 1 more year. There's like basically no skin on this bone. I'm going to keep saying that kind of constantly here. Pujols is essentially a bench hitter, maybe a DH fill-in at this point. I like the guy. He worked hard. He's had a good career, but at this point, nowhere near $30 million of worth. I think Nelson Cruz makes like 13, and he's still a really good hitter in the American League, whereas Pujols is going to make 30, so that gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. Next, we're going to Chris Davis. Another one that we all kind of knew about and all had heard about and known about was Chris Davis making a long contract, but it's almost over, guys. It's almost finally over. 2 years at $21 million. It was very similar to Albert Pujols. Less money, but it's similar in years, but it's finally almost over. Chris Davis is actually hurt again already this year, but he actually has, to me, no value. He's a bench guy at best, and most people think that he doesn't belong in the league, and I'm one to agree, but they're paying him $21 million, so they're going to keep him on the team. I think one year he had like statistically one of the worst seasons of all time. So you're paying that guy $21 million to be, the worst of all time. That's brutal, guys. The next is actually maybe a surprise is actually Chris Sale. He's 32 years old, so that's not that bad. It's not that old. The problem is he's hurt again. I don't know if you guys saw him last year. I hope the best for him. But last year when COVID hit, he had COVID. Actually, I don't know if it was officially known that he had COVID, but he had lost like 40 pounds, and he was already really small. So there were some pictures kind of going around, and he was just really skinny, and it was one of those things where it was almost like frightening for his health, and it was kind of scary. Then he had the arm problem again, and if I'm not mistaken, right off the top, I think he had Tommy John again. And so you got 1 year at $20 million. That's this year. It's basically a wasted season. Maybe he comes back at some point during the year, but after that, there's a 4-year player option for basically $17 million. And I don't know what you're going to get out of Chris Sale anymore. Like, he might have a couple of good years in there, but paying $17 million for basically 5 years, I don't really want to find that out. I'd rather invest that in pretty much anyone else. So for me, the length of time of that contract really puts him in the top 5, whereas Chris Davis is at least done in 2 years, and I don't have to worry about him anymore. So that's good. Next for me is Jason Hayward, another one of these kind of bad contracts. They try to sign early. Sometimes these owners will try to get guys early, like they did Longoria or like Evan White. They try to sign them super early before they kind of break out and hit that free agency. Hayward was kind of in the middle. He's 31. He's still got 4 years at $25 million, guys. That's pretty crazy. We're almost Chris Davis territory. At least Jason Hayward plays. He plays the sport. He's going to start in the outfield, I think, for the Cubs this year. But he's not really that much better than a replacement level player, and you're paying him $25 million for 4 more years. Cubs, this one has got to be killing you guys. As much as Miggy is us in Detroit, and you'll see him in a few minutes here. Jason Hayward is killing this team, and they can't move forward until they kind of get this guy out of there. I mean, obviously you can because you have money and all that fun stuff, and they did, and they won the World Series, which was awesome. But yeah, this contract is really bad. Next is Joey Votto. Apparently, I didn't know this until I looked it up, but he signed a 4-year, $25 million contract with a team option at the end of it, which there's no way they're going to pick up. He's 37 years old, so I don't know why he's got such a long deal. He's not getting off of this till he's 41 years old. And so for me, like 25 mil for a 41-year-old. Yeah, that has not worked very much. Look at Pujols; it just doesn't work. At least with Joey Votto, he's still relevant. He's not fantasy relevant, but at least he's decent enough, and he's still going to start at first base. He's kind of a clubhouse leader, so there's some of those intangibles that he brings to the table at least. But for $25 million for 4 more years, you are not going to return value from that. So that's actually a little bit higher than I thought. And honestly, I should probably switch Hayward and Votto. You could go either way. Some of these two, you could swap the lists all you want, but these guys, man, this is brutal. Number 2 is Robinson Cano, 3 years, $20 million left. The good news for the Mets was he's not getting paid this year. He was caught for doing steroids. So this year was gone. They fought it and basically said, yeah, you don't have to pay him. So that's good. So really it's going to be 2 years at $20 million, but essentially it's going to be dead, I think. Coming off a steroid year at 38 years old, what are you going to expect from this guy? I think he's just going to be gone basically from the league. I mean, that's just what I think. He might have some value when he comes back at some point, maybe. But for me, right now, he basically is dead weight entirely, and he really hurt his team this year. And doing the whole steroid thing it's not good. It's never been good for the game. Number 1, unfortunately for all of us, is Miggy. I can't remember exactly when he signed that mega contract, if it was after the Triple Crown. Miguel Cabrera, let's not get it wrong, he is one of the greatest hitters that we have ever seen in our generation. I mean, he really is. We got Trout, we got Miggy. It was fun to watch, but we paid him for what he had done and not for what he was going to do. And he is actually apparently didn't put the age on there, but I think he's high 30s, 37, 38 now, and we got him for 3 more years at $30 million. So the only other 30 mil was Pujols, which is coming off now. This one is 3 years, 30 million. So it's 3 times as bad as Pujols at this point. Miggy at least plays, and he's going to start at first base. I think by the time Miggy's contract is up, the Tigers will start to soar. They're going to recoup all that money. He does have a 2-year mutual option, which I believe just means that if both sides agree, which there's no way the Tigers will, then he can come back for a more $30 million seasons. So it's pretty bad. Like Miggy at this point has basically set our team financially back until it's gone. And we had Ryan Zimmerman that was similar. He's finally off the books, and which I really don't like to kind of knock Miggy because he's done so much for Detroit, and he's a good guy, and he works hard and all that fun stuff. And he's really brought baseball to Detroit for a long time, and so I don't like to knock him. And the crazy off chance he watches this, I love you, Miggy, but this is still the worst contract in baseball by far for me. And I might be biased, but 3 years worse than Pujols. 3 times worse than Pujols. Come on. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. If you like what you saw today, let me know, and I'll hit you back up. Leave a comment, leave a sub, and I'll see you next time, guys.